call a special session once we know we need one,
Okay,
and what date that'll be.
good enough.
All right, so I'd entertain a motion to cancel the second meeting of December, which is December 24th.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
A motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Action item 4, appointing Brandon Brand, IT Director, to implement a state mandated cybersecurity training course through the Texas Department of Information Resources, DIR, for all county government employees and elected officials who have access to government computer systems or database to fulfill the requirements of Texas Government Code 2054.5191. Commissioners, this is what we do every year with all our employees and elected officials to do that training. I entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 5, approval of annual auditor's examination letter to the Texas Commission on Jail Standards per local government code, chapter 351.0415D. Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 6, request to authorize 2 employees of the Sheriff's Office to attend extra training out of state for radio UKEK training for an estimated cost of $2,455. Entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Second.
And a motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Request to authorize 3 employees of the Sheriff's Office to attend an award ceremonies out of state in honor of Hunt County Sheriff Deputy Jose Torres, who is assigned a task force officer and has been selected as a winner of the year of 2023 DEA Administrators Award for Outstanding Group Achievement. Buddy, are you, Sheriff, want to make any comment about this, or? No? Okay. All right, it's a good honor for Deputy Torres, working with our task force. He's getting a special recognition in Washington, D.C., I believe, isn't he?
Yes, sir, that group, they was recognized statewide, and then now they're national. And on the fight that we've been in, he's been assigned to them, remarkable officers. Got 2 more that's assigned to him that works out of Hunt County, and they've just been doing an excellent job, and that's where we're at this time.
Mainly drug enforcement, or?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Congratulations.
Good job, Sheriff. Good job, Dee.
Congratulations.
Tell your team, good job. Good job. Entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 8. Yes,
I think we're live now for informational purposes.
it can't be. I haven't done anything, so,
They may have overridden.
Yeah, it's showing we're up.
okay. Ask Brandon, text Brandon, ask him, maybe they're watching, do we need to do anything? Because my screen is like it normally is before we start, and it says all is off. So if I need to do something, let me know. All right, if we're live, let's go back to item, well, let's go back to public testimony. Get all the way back to the start. All right, at this time, we'll accept public testimony. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes and should conduct themselves in a civil manner. The Commissioners Court cannot take action on items not listed on the agenda in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Concerns will be addressed by county staff. They may be placed on a future agenda or addressed by some other course of response. Mark White.
I'm going to go ahead and pass because of the delay. That's fine. I'll speak next.
Well, we'd be happy to hear you.
I'll speak next.
Oh, okay. All right. Ward, you want to wait until we talk about the radios, or you want to go ahead and speak now?
I'd like to speak to the
Agenda item? Okay, that's fine. Anybody else wish to speak? Anybody online?
Judge, should we briefly explain for those watching online why?
We can. Citizens, I don't know when y'all picked up online, but we had technical difficulties. We waited for a while to start the meeting, and about 15 minutes after we started it, even though it was not being live streamed, just taking up some issues that are just our normal course of business. We're glad we're back up live, and I think we still got problems. What about all off? Everything's still the same?
So we wouldn't show what we were doing on remote, so we should be good now.
We should be good, okay. All right, thank you. All right, again, we apologize for the delay, and we'll move on with our meeting. Under B, action items, number 1, discuss and amendment of ARPA funds radio purchase resolution. Aaron, you want to brief us?
So I believe it was Grant Works, whoever our administrator of the grant is, that brought to our attention that we.
Is that speaker on there?
Sounded like it was. It is. Yes,
Get anything out of it?
yeah.
Okay. And so anyway, we had to, we realized that the resolution that was passed on September 10th, that was authorizing a change order in the amount of $2,400,000 and change to buy radios for some of the local volunteer fire departments in conjunction with the public radio system that's been going on in an ongoing purchase contract with L3 Harris. That change order exceeded a section of the local government code, and we just missed it. As far as change orders can only be for any contract that's over $1 million, change orders cannot exceed 25% of that contract. And any contracts that a change order would make over $1 million, subsequent change orders cannot exceed 25%. Obviously, the original contract was $4.1 million, being 2.4. That's a whole lot more than 25%. So Grant Works brought that to our attention, and all we need to do is just amend that resolution from the 10th of September 2024 to bring it down to an amount that is, I guess, $1,030,291.25, which is exactly the 25%.
Repeat that number again, $1 million.
$1,030,291.25.
Okay,
That's the 25% of the original contract amount, which was $4,121,165 even. That brings us in compliance with the local government code section there. And of course, that's a little less than half of the extra money that was approved in September to buy those radios for the volunteer fire department. So other monies will have to be appropriated, changed, amended in the budget process to allocate the same amount of radios if the county so chooses.
there's also local law enforcement too.
Correct, yes.
Yes.
Small cities and stuff that would help bring them onto
Yeah.
that new program.
Correct. Okay, Commissioners, you got any questions?
Okay, that was inclusive, when we passed that was inclusive of the fire departments, the ISDs and also the city municipalities that couldn't afford them, is that correct?
Yes.
The fire department and the municipalities with the schools on as well.
That's what I think so.
Correct.
I think that was the intent, at least. I'm not sure what was recorded in the minutes, but that was the intent. Okay?
Judge, I'm sorry. IT's wanting to know if everything looks normal before they leave, like online and everything.
Does it look all right online?
They did it 30 seconds ago.
Steve, you get yours up, or?
Looks normal.
Okay, all right. Everything's good. All right, Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion to modify that previous resolution. Is that what we're going to do? Amend the previous resolution from September 10th, 2024 meeting, where we approve the purchase of radios for law enforcement, volunteer fire departments, and ISDs for approximately $2.4 million that exceeded our limit by law to go over 25% of the contract amount. So we need to amend that to approve $1,030,291.25 out of ARPA funding towards the purchase of those radios.
Judge, before we vote on this, I think we need to talk about what we're going to do now that we're cutting this amount so much, are we still going to follow through on a commitment to purchase these radios with other funding sources, or what's the plan there? I think if we move forward in voting on this without any indication as to our intentions there, that's going to cause a lot of alarm and consternation.
Well, it's my recommendation that we pay for it out of capital improvement money.
That's what my recommendation also, and I thoroughly agree. At that point of time that we did do the voting in reference to this and approve that, but it was my understanding that this was paying for radios in reference to the volunteer fire departments, all municipalities in reference to put in for it and what they put in for, and also the ISDs. Now, it's my understanding that Celeste ISD did not put in because they did not have a police agency at that point of time. But also, if I'm not mistaken, come January, they will have one. In talking to the Celeste, they said that they might have a radio available for them. But am I correct, Sheriff? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Also, in reference to talking, and I don't know whether actually, if I'm not mistaken, Wolf City was not involved in this, but I am of the understanding that they have also getting ready to put, yes, they are, Wolf City is involved in it. They were asking for 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, well, part-time, they had 4 officers, they were asking for 4, and, patrol, and then 4 mobiles. But I've noticed a cut in reference to this. Now, when we went through this motion on that 2.4, whatever it was, I thought that we were giving all these agencies what they requested, but evidently, this seems to be not what is being done, because I noticed there were some cuts. So I'd like to find out if that did include everything that they were asking in reference to the original asking for or not. And I'd like some clarification in reference to that.
All right, Philip,
Yes, sir.
with the sheriff and Buddy and Virginia, and Sheriff's going to step up here. There was a lot of those requests. I mean, one or two of the cities requested for their code enforcement officers or something, or building inspectors, and that was not part of the motion. It was all law enforcement.
I agree.
And then there were some of them that were asking beyond their manpower of what they had. And then there was, I think, Commerce didn't pull theirs back and didn't request as much as they originally had. And I don't have the list in front of me, but we're still working on it. That's why it's not on the agenda today to approve it. I don't think any of us have any problem. We said we're going to do it. We're going to do it. It'll be out of capital improvement. It's the only place we got the money. But Virginia and the sheriff's office is still working with them to make sure that it's done. And in cases where just out of, I guess, belt and suspenders to make sure we get it covered, the sheriff's, we're adding extra to his that will be held at the sheriff's office as extras. A, to replace one if it's broken, and B, if we miss somebody and they show us a need, we'll have a radio to give them. So we're trying to protect them all, even though we were cutting it back some. But there's some of them that was just asking for more than what we felt like was law enforcement.
I'd like to say this. In fact, the sheriff had brought this up earlier, and I did have a discussion. We have a lot of part-time, basically are given their time non-paid. We have a lot that are working full-time for half the money, basically, putting in more hours and so. But I asked this right here. In fact, the sheriff agreed in reference to this, said basically how many times do you get called out because you were a policeman and not the sheriff by neighbors? We grew up without mobile as far as police back in, prior to 70, but We didn't even have mobiles in 71 up until 80, and after that, we didn't even have phones. The thing about it is, back in those days, you got called out and you don't have communications. Communications is probably what keeps you alive a lot of times. I noticed a lot of the mobiles were cut only to have the automobile, as far as the unit in the automobile. A lot of times you can't get back to that automobile. There's a difference in dialing a phone and trying to ask for help versus pushing a button saying, I need help. And that's why it's so important that these people be given the opportunity to have this safety device. Right now, we've run into fighting people versus shooting, having people shoot at you rather than just fighting them. And they need all the equipment that we can give them to help them get home safely to their family. That's what this ARPA money was basically for. I can't help if we didn't do enough to where we have to cut it, and I do agree in reference to it, but I think that we need to stick with it basically, because I asked the question before the motion was made, is this going to give everybody what they need? And the answer was yes. I want to tell you something, I have a lot of respect for the sheriff there. He's the law enforcement authority of this county, and he represents them well. But I tell you what, my friends, when you get out there on the side of the road and you don't have a mobile, or you don't have something, and it takes an hour for somebody to figure out where you are, it's dangerous. So when this court makes a decision in reference to this, and we did have a discussion of what you discussed last night, basically having some of these radios extra. But if you have something like Uvalde or you have a manhunt and all that, you have to have communications, whether they're part-time, whether they're full-time, or whether they're just given their time. And so I'd forward on that right there. But I do appreciate the job that you do, Mr. Jones, Sheriff. And I appreciate basically the people that have contacted me in reference to it, advising that these cuts were possibly taking place. But we need to take care of the firemen, we need to take care of the dead-gum peacemakers, there's no doubt about it. And all the technology that we can get, we need to spend that money for it in order to try to keep them safe, and not just them, but the community itself they work for. Thank you.
Sheriff?
My only concern, and I said this, is we have vehicles, there's a lot of radios being handed out. These radios are, actually, the way it's set up is on loan from the sheriff's office to these agencies. Hand unit, $6,000. A mobile unit is $5,000. Okay, each one of them will have a sticker on them. They're going through my office. Where they go and where they turn up and where they don't come back from falls straight on me. Y'all can say go ahead.
No, I'm listening, my friend.
So that's my concern is I want to make sure that these officers have everything they need. But I also have to make sure that that mobile unit is married to a car with a VIN number and everything so that they can be tracked back. When you hand out hand units to reserves, I have a reserve program, a lot of them does have a reserve program. There's law enforcement sitting on this court. A lot of times there's a turnover. Concerns about that. Us as reserves, when I reserved, now it's been, keep in mind, 93, and a lot of things change. But when I would show up to work for my department, the reserves had enough hand units on the side in there to go in and check that unit out and put it back. That way it didn't wind up gone, you know, if the person left. That is my concern. There was 2.4 million, I'm gonna cut it off on rounding about, because when you get to talking about millions of dollars, you actually confuse me on how many zeros you got. It scares me when you talk about that kind of money. $2.4 million was approved, okay, on these. Well, we come down through here and to outfit every single thing that's on the list there, 2.2 million. Okay, well, that's fine, but I'm thinking, okay, well, we got back to the 2.4, so I'm thinking, okay, well, we got to stay under 2.4. Well, we've already spent 200 and something thousand that came out of ours, so I'm thinking, okay, well, does that come back? This is all confusing. But what I'm saying is the integrity, and I'm going to use that too. When I hand these radios out, it's our system, it's the integrity of our system. And I want to make sure that who we give them to and what we give them for is taken care of. Now, I'm also going to tell you, and I'm probably going to go, as a taxpayer, naturally, when you tell me $5,000 a radio, and this, I'm going to be cautious with with the taxpayers' money. I sure am. We're going to protect every officer out here that needs a radio is going to get them. Everything that because I'm the one that rides out here at night. I'm the one that rides out here the day, and I'm the one that knows what agency is backing, what agency is answering calls, what agency is going to battle. I'm going to make sure that these agencies are taken care of, and I'm going to fight for them. That's not a problem. But I am going to make sure of the integrity of the radio, where the radio goes, and the money, because I'm responsible for it. If you have any other questions, I'd be happy to talk to you about it in an executive session, but I'd just soon not do it here. Thank you.
Thanks, Sheriff. All right. Well, I only speak for myself. I have no problem in furnishing everybody that needs them to have a radio. We want to protect our law enforcement people, but we don't, as the sheriff said, we have a duty also to our taxpayers, and we don't need to be just handing them out to everybody that just because they want one. And I think that's where some of the problem is, and the sheriff's correct. Those radios have to be kept up with, especially with the ARPA funding. Those are going to have to be logged and checked and make sure that they're accounted for with federal funds. That's only a part of them, but there's a part of them that we really have to. The other part is ours, and we should be doing the same. We should be taking the same diligence as that is required by the federal government. We need to keep up these radios, and they don't just need to be handed out to everybody just because they sign up to be a part-time something with one of their agencies, and then we don't get radios back. So there needs to be some kind of accountability. I'm not sure what that looks like, but we have to make sure we have some integrity in it. So, are we?
Judge, I think I'm sorry. As I understand the agenda for today, the primary consideration is to take action on this amendment to the resolution for the ARPA funds, and then my concern would be that, as I said earlier, we communicate to the public, especially those who are relying on receiving these radios, that we're going to pursue their purchase with alternate funds, alternate source of funds, and that the procurement process be commenced at the earliest opportunity. We don't have anything on the agenda that authorizes us to do that today, but if that's the position we're taking for the public, I think we need to be very clear so they can have confidence in that. The only other thing I would say is that I certainly respect the sheriff and the work he's doing and your input on this, and if you have concerns about any of these allocations, I certainly want to hear that and value that input. But since not only the amount for the radio allocation, but also the specific numbers of radios to be purchased with that funds was approved through this court, my suggestion to the extent it is needed today would be that we proceed with the same amount, partly funded through alternate sources, to purchase the same number of radios. And if we need to look at some of the numbers allocation we can do that later. But because it was approved through court, any changes to that also needs to be approved through court.
So you're saying you're okay with us buying extra radios that we don't need?
No, sir.
Well, that's what you said, because the only numbers we've been working off of are estimates. So I don't disagree. We need to buy all the radios that there is required.
No, sir, I'm saying that any changes to the action the court has already taken need to come back through this court to be approved.
Well, that has to happen that way. But like I said, there's been all kind of changes since that was done that have been asked by the departments and asked by the sheriff's office to try to figure out exactly how we were going to get to that resolution. I don't know. I don't have the numbers. I don't know what's been cut and what hasn't been cut. But there's not a whole lot that's been cut. And most of it was clear. I don't think any of us would want to vote for what was being asked of us.
Tell me this.
When we get to that at the next meeting and approve the purchase of whatever that turns out, Virginia and them are still working on it, so we don't know what that number is yet. But they know they can spend up to now it's 1 point, whatever it is, 4 to get the rest of it, up to the 2.4. If they come under it, that's fine, and if they don't, that's fine.
May I ask this? What is this? These are the cuts.
That's suggested cuts. Those haven't been, nothing's been approved on those yet.
Do you have a copy of this?
I didn't bring it with me.
If we're in agreement that any changes need to be approved by court, then we're in agreement.
Yeah, that's fine.
It has to go through court.
Sure, yeah, it has to be. But what I heard you say was, we have to spend that 2.4, and I don't think necessarily that's the right way to say it. We need to spend all the money we need to spend to give everybody that needs radios. That's what we need to do.
Yeah. I'm just saying that any changes have to come through court.
Sure, well, they have to. I mean, it
Understand
goes without
this.
saying that we have to do. Hang on a minute. Ward, you were asked to speak during this time. Do you still would like to address the court? We'd like to hear from you.
Honorable Judge, County Commissioners, Court Personnel, and County officials. I'd like to speak today regarding, my name is Ward Guffey. I'm a captain with the Hawk Cove Police Department, and I'm here to speak regarding the allocations that we had requested and pretty much the topic of the conversation that's just been had. First, I wanted to provide some additional information to the Commissioners Court regarding our city and what the correct counts and that sort of thing, that there seems to be some miscommunication regarding that. I'd just like to present some facts and information for the county commissioners to consider, and also to address some apparent misunderstandings of what the Hawk Cove Police Department is or does, how many personnel we have, how many calls we make, and that sort of thing. So I gathered together some figures regarding our personnel and our call activity and how it relates. Start off with, there's been some question of how many officers we have. Our current roster consists of 10 individuals total, and broken down is with the chief plus 3 full-time paid officers, 2 part-time paid officers, and 4 unpaid officers, reserve or just part-time without pay due to their own particular situation. So that's basically current, and that number will change up and down a little bit as all departments do. You have coming in, you have goings, but that's as of September the 12th. Those figures that I had regarding our department activity and our needs. we had requested 4 mobiles and 4 handhelds to be allocated according to as follows. We have of the 4 vehicles, the one is the chief's vehicle. We have 2 that are actively patrol vehicles. We have 1 vehicle in reserve that we keep fully equipped. In case one of our other vehicles breaks down, we have a vehicle to utilize. And then I put together some figures for our department activity from January of this year through August. We had total calls for service of 213. Of that, 75 were agency assist for other agencies. That's roughly 35% of our calls is are assisting other agencies, backup or whatever. In addition to that, there were 5 dealing directly with the Department of Public Safety. And breaking down, like I said, that's about 35% of our activity is not doing Hawk Cove, but agency assist to other departments. And the breakdown of that regarding the Hunt County Sheriff's Department, we had 58 calls that were backup to Hunt County. 1 was actually a Hunt County call that the county had no one available, and our Hawk Cove unit took the call that was originally set up for the county. We had 7 agency assists for the city of West Tawakoni and 5 for the city of Quinlan PD. And that, of that 75, 59%, 27.7% were for Hunt County deputies, where they either needed backup or they weren't able to respond as quickly as we had someone close by, or it was an event in our area. So, you know, it's not like we're just talking about Hawk Cove. And I'm sure some of these other small departments are in the same situation. I just don't have any information on anyone except ours. So, back to our allocation, what we had requested was radios for the 4 vehicles that are regular patrol vehicles, including 1 for the chief's vehicle, and the handhelds for the officers that are out on patrol to have the handheld with them. When they get out of their car, they have the handheld. As Commissioner Martin said, when you're out there, if you don't have communication, it's a matter of officer safety, absolutely. Had a call here just last week where the call had been for the county, and the county didn't have anybody available. We called Hawk Cove, and they said, well, the county will be about 45 minutes before they can get there. They're on another call, and they only had one deputy. Hawk Cove responded. It's my understanding that there's been a long-standing formal written mutual aid agreement between Hunt County, Hawk Cove, Quinlan, and West Tawakoni, such that of any of those entities, there's a call for their area, they're not available, one of the other 4 will respond. And that's been in place for, I don't know, as long as I can recall. So that's just kind of and again, that's a snapshot. But our total agency assist calls to other departments rather than activity in our city, in general, runs 35 to 40% of our total calls. So we're not just sitting down there in our little piece of heaven and to the detriment of the other area. And I listened. I wasn't at the last commissioners meeting, but I was listening to the recording that on YouTube. And I was concerned, and our chief was concerned, the whole department was concerned about some comments that were made about our department. And I just wanted to make sure we clarified that. We do have more than one officer. We do have more than one car. And, you know, I'm not sure whether those comments were made in jest or what the circumstances were, but it hurts when we've got officers out there, like Commissioner Martin said, they're working for no pay or half pay. I'm one of the part-time officers. I'm paid for 16 hours a week. I typically put in 35 or 40. That's my choice. And we have other officers that are unpaid, part-time. The department is holding their commission, so they want to do off-duty security work, that sort of thing. And the department has to hold their commission. In order for that, they promised to give us some, at least 48 hours a month of service. But if you've only got people putting in 48 hours a month, it takes quite a few of them, honestly. But if we don't have officers out there on the street with adequate communications back to dispatch, we've just got all of our officers in you know, terrible risk. If the only way we have to reach dispatch is by telephone, cell phone, that's a major problem. And so don't understand why we were cut to the point. If we only had 2 mobiles and 2 handhelds, you know, I just don't see how we could function. We're not asking for like a radio for everything and have half a dozen radios sitting out there not being used. We would really like to have 5. The reason for the 5th one is to have a radio in the police department, because when we're sitting there and we hear a call come out, if we don't have a radio there in the department, like we currently have one in the chief's office, but we're such a giant, huge building, you can hear anything goes on from any office. We'll have officers sitting there writing up reports or whatever, and a call will come over the radio. If they didn't have a radio there in the PD, they wouldn't be able to hear it. And you can't use the old radios even for just receiving, because it's on totally different frequencies. And we're also concerned about this new radio system. Certainly hope it doesn't end up like the last one. We've got all these new radios we put in a year ago. I think I've heard they spent about $1 million on that. And that brought up a question to me. What happens to those? Can those be turned back in? Can they be sold to help fund what we've got? We've got this $1 million worth of radios sitting around, be doing nothing once this new system goes in place. It just seems like a waste of possible source of revenue. So that's pretty much what I had. If entertain any questions anybody had about clarification.
Commissioners?
The only question I have is, does the mobile radio not work inside the building? Would it not work inside there, that you would need or a handheld not work inside the building compared to a mobile?
Don't know. It's an unknown system.
Exactly.
But if we had one of the handhelds in there and it worked, yeah, that would be suffice it. But we'd need more than 2, because if you got 2 officers out on the street, and even though you got a mobile in the car, as Commissioner Martin said, you get out of that car and you're out there on front, you don't have time to get back. So most of the officers, when they're on patrol, they have a radio in the car, but they also have a handheld that goes with them everywhere. It cut us down to 2. We don't even have handhelds. And I'm sure there's other departments in the same situation.
All right, thank you. Thank you for what you do, sir. All right. Action item 2, presentation update of ARPA funding. Derek?
Greetings from County Commissioners Court. I do want to go ahead and update you all on the ARPA funding. that remains for Hunt County. We do have a hurdle coming up on December 31, 2024. It's the obligation deadline for ARPA funding. And I did go ahead and bring a whiteboard to go ahead and facilitate sort of like a budget workshop.
Okay.
So I have three numbers for you all, 3.1, 3.1, and 6.2.
We don't have anything.
6.2 is the remaining total ARPA allocation unobligated at this time.
Yes, please. Give us just a second. Let's get you a mic, so you either need to walk around with one in your hand, or we can put one on your lapel.
I'll take one to, Test. Can you hear me all right, everybody?
Up here, you sound fine. I don't know.
There you go. Awesome. Test, thank you.
Y'all hear in the back all right? Okay.
So I kind of like to go ahead and have these ARPA budget workshops. So there's the 3.1 of restricted and 3.1 of unrestricted. So I do want to just go ahead and open up for questions from facilitation on where to go ahead and allocate the remaining of the funds and obligate them for the end of the year. Those are the documents, and I can write and place ideas as they go ahead and come on through, and open up discussion.
So where's the one, the 1,030,000 roughly, is that under restricted?
That is actually restricted.
Okay.
So that's for radios. That would be the under the emergency communications. I can't give you a line. Thank you. Yes. So the $1 million would be restricted. It's under the mitigation category of emergency relief under ARPA. It's a recent new interim final rule that went ahead and had 3 additional eligible uses under the restricted category, so yes.
Okay.
So millions coming out of the 3.1?
Yes.
There's a little bit of change here.
That's under restricted?
So 2.1 could go to the Puddin Hill building. It would be under restricted.
That's correct. Under the restricted, from what I know about Puddin Hill, there's an emergency operations center within it.
Right.
And because of the emergency eligibility category 2, that's an enumerated expense.
And all the surrounding support area of it as well.
As well for congregate housing in the event of an emergency, yes.
Right.
Tell me this, how much have we already spent in reference to, on restricted money in reference to Mary Puddin Hill?
We haven't spent any restricted money on Mary Puddin Hill.
Say it again?
No restricted money, only unrestricted.
Okay, but that's still ARPA money.
Correct.
Does the 1.25, that 25% in reference to that act with other things also?
Only if there's existing contracts. So that would be a change order because that's the way the radios worked in. The 25% is local government code under Texas.
Yes, question in reference to that, in reference to ARPA, and this might be an attorney question also. The rules and regulations in reference to the ARPA money were set by the federal government, is that correct?
Yes.
Would they, my question is in reference to this 25%, in reference to a contract, am I correct? In reference to a contract, you can only go up to 25%. Since this is not, since it's federal money versus state money, which there's not a rematch in reference to this, would that even be entered into it? Is that a good question?
It is a good question. Due to the procurement regulations that the county follows through.
Wait, say it again?
That the county would follow through on their procurement regulations under Texas Government Code. It would have to follow the most stringent requirements, so that's the Texas part of the procurement.
Have you, okay, so you'd have to go the restraint in reference to that, but this is still federal money, not matched or anything like that. So y'all have looked into that, basically.
Right, correct, yes. We follow, so we recommend that the county follows both all federal, local, and ARPA regulations. So it's a broad mix of procurement regulations.
Good.
And look, the most stringent regulations and be followed by the county.
Even with the federal non-match and with it pending, only can be used for certain things. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, then, if that's the case, okay, in reference to Mary Puddin Hill, you're saying we're going by contract, right? So we did a contract earlier, basically, where we spent so much money. So now we're entering into another contract. So therefore, that would not be interfere with this 25%. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Only contract we have, and it's not, I mean, it's just, it was professional. Professional contract was with the architects. We have no other contracts.
The 25% only applies to change orders.
That's my
We don't
point.
have any.
The contract, you need to make a change to it, and it was over $1 million.
Yes,
You're limited to changing up to 25% only.
okay, that's cool. Thank you. Oh, one more question. The last time we received a write-out, basically budgeted, non-budgeted and all this, do you have anything like that with you that we can look at?
I don't have it currently with me, but these are it is basically the same way as last time, but I don't have it currently with the write-up. I have a draft of it, and we can print it out and hand it out after the fact.
Okay.
Thank you.
So have you done any calculations on the EOC? How much that, I know we don't have a contract or a price or anything, but,
I know
you know how many square feet that's gonna be eligible for it?
I haven't yet received it from the architect so far. I was expecting to have the square footage broken out by the actual budget. So in addition to the EOC as an eligibility category, there's also the health and human services
Right,
section of the programming that is eligible under the restricted category.
okay.
So that's a way to go ahead and slice it into 1.05 for the EOC and 9.05 for the health and human services.
So the way that's calculated, it will be the square footage of use of those departments times the estimated cost of construction for the whole project divided by the square foot cost and applied back? Is that the way that work?
That would be the way to go ahead and estimate it.
Okay.
When it comes to the actual expenditures, it could be bid out in that certain way.
Well, we'd be bidding a contract eventually. I mean, we'll be bidding it,
Right, and for each of these, the obligations, so they could be obligated, each with an MOU, we like to call them. They're a special form of contract that, is internal to the county. That would go ahead and, obligate the carrying out of the funds, throughout to obligate
So-
before the deadline.
we'd make an agreement with ourselves that we're gonna spend X amount of money on those. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly, those specific eligibility categories, either for the EOC and concrete housing, or it'd be one, and possibly one, depending on when this, would go ahead and be,
Well, the radios we'll go ahead and do. That's done.
yeah, I think that would be done for,
Yeah, we can go ahead and get that one.
for next Commissioner's Court, to get the final dollar amount.
Right.
Flow into the restricted category here,
Right,
if that makes sense.
yep.
That's, sort of the idea for it, and then the unrestricted is out there at 3.12. It could also go towards the Puddin Hill, just on those general features.
Right. So what about, road materials? Is that unrestricted or
That'd be unrestricted, so unrestricted is generally called 6.1 if you've seen it, but it would be unrestricted. Raw materials could be for it, but it's, no, not but it's, there's a lot of options to go ahead and choose from under the unrestricted category.
Like equipment and other things could be purchased with it,
Equipment, right, yes.
or repairs to buildings, or whatever we do. Yeah.
Mostly what general government services is the official terminology for that.
So basically what you're saying in reference to the bottom line, did you ever find that? Okay, why don't you bring it up and make a copy of it, please, if you can.
Well, send it to us
So
afterwards.
basically, we're saying, basically, we have 31.1 restricted, 1 million, right at, in reference to radios, basically, and then, that would take care of that aspect that we were looking at. No, you can't spend that money on that. That would be what's left, the 25%. That would leave us 2.1 million in reference to it, which basically you're looking at agriculture and architecture, and we're trying to figure out how much that's going to cost so we can set that money aside, correct? Okay, then we're looking at the unrestricted, we're looking at possibly putting some of that over towards that, am I correct? Is that what you're saying? So we have 3.1, and then you're looking at basically possibly even thinking about doing the unrestricted in reference to the roads or whatever else that we can use because it is unrestricted and meets all the qualifications that we have. Is that correct?
Or for the Puddin Hill building either. I mean, all of it fits in both, in the unrestricted, all of it fits. I mean, on the restricted, county clerk has historical documents and all, and it's gonna be in that building. Is any of that covered under restricted for protecting?
For shopping projects, there's a,
For restricted, would the clerk's storage of vital records be part of that restricted?
under emergency, let me research a little bit further and get back to you, if that's okay. I can probably, spend a little bit of time, in between now and end of court.
Okay.
Derek, excuse me, you mentioned the MOU earlier. So we can't, we had to change our resolution for the radio purchase because of the contract restrictions. If we determined that we wanted to still use ARPA funds to purchase the remaining radios, could we utilize such an MOU now so that we can then go through the procurement process and have the funds reserved for that?
To be the full procurement process.
Would you repeat that question, that answer, for the simple reason you can't use more than 25%, and that was the 25?
Under the current contract, but a new contract could be procured.
We've already looked into that, and we probably can't meet it by the end of the year, getting a new contract with L3.
But would the MOU allow us to go beyond the end of the year?
It would allow you to go beyond,
To get a new contract?
to get a new contract, it would have to be procured,
Right.
formally and, under regulations under CFR 200 and items like that.
Yeah, but Ken, in that contract, you're saying get a new contract, even it being the same articles that you're getting, it'll be in renegotiation, so it'd make it different?
Well, no, the idea would be to go ahead and formally procure through an RFP or IFP, through, getting open competition throughout.
Well, there's no way. I mean, Aaron, that's a 30.
No, not time frame. We did some in small municipalities.
Yeah, you need to come to the mic, Aaron, I'm sorry.
Derek, to be clear, I understand we don't have time to go through the procurement process before the end of the year. My question is, you referenced an MOU that we'd enter into with ourselves essentially to designate the funds for that purpose. Would that satisfy ARPA requirements and allow us to extend that procurement process beyond the end of the year?
Yes, beyond the end of the year would be allowable.
I still don't,
What Philip is asking about is the issue that we'd be getting radios that were in a contract that we tried to extend beyond 25%, and now potentially haven't taken action on it yet, but amending back down to the 25% maximum, and then coming out later, even with an MOU that would extend through the end of December 2026. If you dedicate those funds through an MOU, intergovernmentally, intra-governmentally, between the county and one of its own departments, you can then procure and get the contract through the end of, as long as you expend all the funds to the end of December 2026. The question I think Phil was asking about is more of a local government code. Is that going to be one of the problems with more than one contract for an amount over? I don't think that would be an issue, especially since you've got that long to do it. Local government has issues about phasing, smaller amounts to state or certain limits.
We got two problems. This one, and then our contract to purchase the radios ends on the pricing the end of this year. So we have to have them ordered by the end of this year, or the pricing will change. And I don't know how much, I don't know what that number is, but we get I think we get a 40% discount right now. If we go beyond that,
I thought it was,
and have to negotiate a new contract, we could be adding a lot of money to, and I think we have to have a lot of clarity on this before we decide to do that, because we don't want to spend extra dollars when we got another way to pay for it.
Well, we could go ahead and spend the 1.03 that we're allowed under the Texas Local Government
Well, we've
Code.
already done that.
Change.
We've already
Right.
we've done that.
And then the remaining 1.3
One,
roughly, one
Three, yeah.
something.
what's the
Could
remaining
be set
amount?
aside using this MOU and go out to procure another contract for
that's what
it,
I'm saying. If we
for
do
the
that-
radios.
If we do that, the price is going up,
Understood?
probably 40%.
Sure. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah, makes it
Like
pretty,
they say, it's-
that bumps it up a bunch. We need to try to get it, we need to save $400,000 is what that would be, if we couldn't get a better deal than that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not saying that was the direction we want to go, or even that this is a project we would utilize that option for, but making sure we understand our options.
So for each, I guess kind of my next steps and our team's next steps for GrantWorks is to probably write up each of these MOUs for the restricted categories under Pudding Hill, and then bring it back before court after.
As quick as we can for y'all, I mean,
For discussion.
yeah, so you think you can get us an answer before the day's over, before court's over, on whether or not the vital records, what about voters? I mean, what's going over is voters administration and 911 addressing also is going in there, so that's,
911 would be emergency.
I was going to say, that's ties to emergency. It's 911 addressing, it's not dispatching, it's addressing, but that's the department that sends it to the COG, which is the Regional 911 Center, then it goes out to everybody.
Oh, okay.
And that's how we dispatch, is off of that list. So it is part of dispatch.
That 911 part of dispatch, yes. It's more it's kind of like, I know some of them off the top of my head, some of them I don't, but definitely the 911 addressing could be rolled into the emergency eligibility category under 8.1, and then for the record storage, I'm pretty sure it's under unrestricted, but I can try to go at least.
Well, if it's restricted, I mean, that's what we're putting over there. We're putting voters administration, the county clerk with all the vital records, and then we're Homeland Security, Homeland Security, Fire Marshal. Help me out, Steve, what's
Is the medical-
what's all the
medical-
environmental enforcement and
Is the
and
health
health
going over
department and
is the health department going over there now, the clinic?
the clinic's not going, but the health department is. So that's every, I mean, community development, 911, health department, environmental, EPA enforcement, fire marshal, emergency management,
I think that's everything.
is that everything, Steve? And then voters, and then county clerk. That's everything that's going over there. Everything is planned to go over there.
Judge, are you proposing that these sums be allocated for that using the MOU, since we do not have a contract for the Pudding Hill?
If he's saying that would work for that, yes. I mean, the last estimate we had was right at $13 million for the whole 2,700 square feet or something that's out there, including parking and all the improvements. I'm just trying to get to the 2.1 restricted amount. I mean, we got to come up with something that's restricted. If that's restricted, that's a good place to use it.
Derek, I believe y'all have, I know the answer, but I'll ask anyway. Y'all have gone back over all the previous ARPA expenditures to verify that everything categorized from the unrestricted portion was not eligible for categorization in the restricted portion. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, too.
Okay.
We've checked
So-
sort of the administrative was one of the items there. And all the distributions to nonprofits. And, yes.
Right, and distributions to nonprofits continue to be a viable use of the funds, restricted funds. Would things like water, water infrastructure through the water districts be allowed use of the funds?
Yes, that would be allowable use.
What kind of process would we have to go through if we wanted to distribute funds to the water
To water
districts?
We'd recommend an interlocal between the county and the water districts.
Say that again?
An interlocal.
Oh, okay.
Interlocal agreement, and we can work on that. Either the interlocal will fulfill the obligation deadline for 2 years to expend the money by the water district. It may be tight as sort of.
Very early on in this process, we had even contemplated something of the sort, and I think we went so far as having a spreadsheet.
Yeah, we got,
Prepared and-
our discussion went along the lines, we got several water districts, and how would we be fair to all of them and not pick one out and give them money, because they all got needs. And we talked, and we went to the state and got the number of meters for each department and got a total, and then went with a percentage and decided, and said, well, if we were gonna do it, we would give X dollars, and it'd be based on a per meter, basis. And then, of course, in a couple of the bigger ones, I talked to them about it, and they said, well, don't do that, just give it all to the little ones. We don't need it as much, and the court never made a decision whether we were gonna do anything, so we kinda dropped it, but I still reiterate, if we don't give it to all, and, it's not gonna look good, and the only way to do that is per meter, in my opinion. I mean, there's other opinions, but I don't know how you go out there and say this one needs it worse than one down the road needs.
Well, we certainly know with all the growth we're experiencing that every department will have a use for it, and it'll be a
Sure.
good tangible benefit to the public. Yeah. Is that something that we could viably do between now and the end of the year, Derek?
To transfer the money, yes.
To enter into the interlocals?
Interlocals, it would be possible, depending on the population and how, the water district sort of amenable they would be. It'd probably be best recommendation to do an MOU and say, hey, this is for the water district program of sorts for each of the, to say, there's 8 water districts, for example, and the MOU would have the program overseen by, say, the auditor's office, just throwing that out there. For up to, say, an X amount of dollars, right? And then you could dig into the details later. It's just depending on the projects. You probably want shovel-ready projects if they're going to be activities.
Yeah, because they have to spend it within 2 years.
Yeah, they would need to spend it on the timeframe. The regulations would all kind of flow down through the water district.
Thank you.
Any other suggestions of restricted dollars, since we don't know where we're at with all, until y'all get back with us on all of those, we don't know exactly where we're gonna be. The unrestricted, we got lots of options for that, but the restricted is, to me, is our focus. The other, there's all kind of things we can do.
Tell me this, you got the 3.1, okay? How much is it actually?
Exactly, 6.2,
Here's why I'm asking. Basically, we have a budget balance of $6,599,196.25. And I'm trying to find out, basically, is that what you're showing? That's the balance, and that's taking the $2,411,950
No,
off of it.
no, that was before.
So our numbers here are 6.2.
Do what?
6 point,
243,046.40. And that's remaining to obligate.
That's why I'm saying I wish I had that other form that we had. That way you could actually look at it.
this is the latest form, Philip, that they're reading off of.
Well, I understand that, but I can't see it from here, my
Well, he just gave you the number.
Yeah,
It's just remaining.
here, let me see it, my friend.
And we'll be sure to calculate it down to the penny too, just to keep it,
Okay, so it's 6,889, 6,889,442.
No,
That's what grand total said.
that's remaining to expend, so it's actually.
Remaining amount to expend, so that's what's left to spend, right?
Yes, that's what.
So that's a balance of what's,
Well, not exactly, because there's the contracts too.
okay, so you're taking the contracts off of that and coming down with this other, is that correct?
Yes, it's 6.2 here.
Okay, let me look at it, my friend.
It's the third line item.
No, it's fine.
126.
Derek, another question. We have struggles with our voter administration building and where they're housed currently. And there's been talk of this Puddin Hill project. We haven't agreed to that as a whole court yet. And so I'm a little leery of entering into an MOU that's specific to that site. If the MOU is for using for voter administration office, is there a way to generally phrase that so that if we decided to not utilize the Puddin Hill location or something of that sort, could that be done?
Would fall into the unrestricted, that would be the.
That'd be unrestricted, okay,
And that's just me right now on the.
Sure.
on the spot. I don't think it would fall into any of the restricted categories.
mm-hmm,
At this moment in time, usually it's health, emergencies, Title I road projects.
mm-hmm,
I'm pulling from memory here, water and sewer, so the board administration would fall under this unrestricted side here.
gotcha.
Is the,
The question, I think, though, to the point that he was,
yes,
to the point he was asking about specificity, maybe, as far as the MOUs, how specific does the MOUs or any exhibits attached to the MOUs have to be as far as whether or not the voter administration building could or could not be tied to the Puddin Hill or some other location? Is that,
That's correct.
speak to that, how specific those MOUs have to be?
Theoretically, if we decide to bulldoze the building where it stands and build a new one, not saying we would, but theoretically.
Theoretically, we'd have to be specific on time down which eligibility category it is and the purpose for it.
yeah. When was this active?
So it would have to say,
Okay, but does that subtract from that?
or, remodel. It wouldn't have to be that specific, to be honest, just to say that.
Okay,
But it'd have to be unrestricted.
that'd be unrestricted, okay.
Those others, the 911 and the vital records and, of course, you already said, I think the emergency people will be covered. And we talked about, of course, they got fire marshal and all that under that same emergency management area. Fire marshal, environmental enforcement, health department, you got off to the side, it's all, this health department environmental is going over there, not a clinic, it's environmental. Is there a way you can get us an answer today on those, or before the meeting's over?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So if you check into the vital records, those are unrestricted here. The 911 addressing, emergency management are restricted under emergency.
Okay,
Voters admin is on
okay, so you've already checked that out, so,
Tracy.
okay, Tracy got it, okay, good, Tracy. So, all we need to do then is the emergency area and 911 area and the EOC area along with the accessory building portion of it. Then we'd have to come up with the square footage of that we're waiting on the architect for. And then we can get a multiplier off of their estimates or the estimates that are for that particular, I don't know if they'll have them for that particular area. It'll be an overall per square foot probably.
In reference to this right here, you have placeholder for remaining restricted, unbudgeted, unobligated ARPA of $2,126,211.21, and this is estimated completion date 12/31/2026. What was that? Okay, but that's for disasters.
Yes, it could be for disaster.
Okay, if a disaster does not take place,
Oh, no,
if a disaster does not take place and we don't expend it by the 26th, what happens to that money?
oh, it wouldn't be, it's in case of future disasters.
It'll what?
No, future disasters, so anything under the mitigation of future disasters is going.
You're talking about like in 2027? So it has to take place in 2026. Am I agreeable? But we can't move the money once it's in there, can we?
No, as long as it's used for an emergency style purpose. So as long as it's used for like an emergency operations center,
Disaster type situation?
disaster type service, not situation. If that makes, so like, if.
So Philip, what I think they're saying is the EOC, and Homeland Security and all that is for emergency operations, whether we have one before 26 or don't have one. It's just to have the availability of those services is what the,
It doesn't have to occur within the timeframe,
Yes.
but it has to be kind of, historically used.
So that's the 2.1.
well, we don't know how much it's going to be yet. That falls within the 2.1, but we don't know what that number looks like. I don't know that it'll get to the 2.1, but it's probably going to get way over half of it anyway, I would guess. Because that,
Well, not only the emergency, but the health and services.
right,
Which is
that health department environmental, are we talking the same language? I mean, that's
maybe we're blurring the language a little bit, public health.
public, that is for public, I mean, they're doing septic systems and all for public health. I mean, yeah, well, they're not lying, but they're septic systems where they're approving and inspecting systems to make sure they're operational so they don't endanger anybody. Okay, so that would be, I can calculate most of that square footage. And we know a rough number for the whole building, so I'll call the architect and see if we can't get something pretty quick. Yeah. So, when I talk to them, like 911 addressing in the building, we'll have 2 offices, I think, 2 or 3 offices. But then they're going to have a lobby area and a meeting room that are going to be community type for other people in the building, which most of them in that area is going to be all these people, the emergency 911 and the EOC operations. They're going to have their own. There's going to be one entryway that will service that whole part of the building, and one conference room to take care of that whole part of the building. For operations, will that be on a percentage basis of the use of that space, or?
That's what we recommend, is for the percentage of this estimated time.
Right, okay.
As it goes into more detail.
So when I talk to the architects, I need to get them to calculate a percentage of those that we just talked about, and then a percentage of what would be called common area. Yes. Okay, all right. I can do that. Any other questions?
Just also to clarify, we probably asked y'all this multiple times before at other meetings too, but on the unrestricted portion, are those eligible to have to be obligated by the end of the year also, or they can, because at some point, very early on the process, it was spoken as if they could just be, that the amount could just be transferred into the general fund or, sorry, the fund balance or something like that, but you're saying they do need to be obligated to a specific purpose? Okay. Just trying to clarify, thank you.
And they can, funds, equipment for X, Y, Z, or
Sure, thank you.
Okay. Assuming we can get, any other questions?
Judge,
Assuming we-
not so much a question as a statement, but just, as I said earlier, I'm not personally, I don't believe since we have not agreed to the Puddin Hill project and the 13.5 million estimate, while it is good that if we were entering into that project to have these funds to offset costs, it also comes at the obligation of the other funds necessary for that project. So before we obligate ARPA funds for that, we need to have some kind of decision made on whether to move forward with that project at this time, because there are other things we could use that money for. Water districts being one of them, and I know they've been hurting, especially since COVID with all this growth. Obviously, we can't do that today.
Right.
But I want to say that on the record.
Okay. So if we get some numbers in all our next meetings in 2 weeks, is that going to allow y'all enough time, or do we need to try to get it and have a meeting between now and 2 weeks, or what's y'all's time schedules?
I think it'd be best to have it in the next week, if we can get that.
Okay. What, when? I know for voters,
on Monday or Tuesday.
of next week. Yeah, we have to, Jeannie Ash called, and we've got to, what's the term? Canvass the votes. Yeah, thank you. Canvass the votes from the past election
That'll
early
be
next
next
week.
week.
So we'll be having a session early next week.
Good enough.
So if we can get some answers on this, and then the commissioners can think about many unrestricted uses that are out there that we can spend on, and any that we felt like was restricted, so we can discuss all that. That satisfy everybody? Okay. All right, thank y'all. All right, let's see, make sure. Becky, I hope you help keep me together here. I'm on number 8. Yeah, okay. Number 8, discuss and possibly act on award of formal proposal number 242-24 inmate commissary services. Recommendations of the Inmate Commissary Service Evaluation Committee is to award Keefe Commissary Network LLC effective February 1st, 2025 through February 1st, 2030. Chad, you got any comments, or?
Good morning. My name's Chad Stroud, jail administrator over there. In September, we formed the committee for the commissary services for the sheriff's office. The committee has put in their recommendation. Do y'all have the recommendation in front of you? The documentation? And with their recommendation, the sheriff's office agrees with that recommendation. We're asking the court to approve for us to go into that contract.
Any questions, commissioners? Not, I entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Chad, you're doing a great job. Action number 9, the request for permission to do work within the county right-of-way along County Road 1071. We'll be installing a pole approximately 1 foot inside the southern right-of-way of County Road 1071 in Precinct 1 under normal stipulations. Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved?
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action number 10, the request for permission to do work within the county right-of-way along County Road 2150. We will be installing a single-phase overhead distribution line 5 foot inside the north and south right-of-way of County Road 2150 in Precinct 1 under normal stipulations. Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved?
Second.
Got a motion and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action number 11, the request to construct electrical power distribution facilities which will be in the right-of-way of County Road 2560 in Precinct 2 under normal stipulations. Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second?
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 12, the request to construct electrical power distribution facilities which will be in the right-of-way of County Road 3318 in Precinct 3 under normal stipulations.
So move.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 13, the request to place a flush valve in the county right-of-way on County Road 4111. If approved, the flush valve will be installed within 1 foot of the fence and marked with a blue water valve marker in Precinct 4 under normal stipulations. Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 14, discuss and possibly take action on interlocal agreement between the town of Portree and Hunt County for pothole repairs on 6 roads within the city limits. Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second?
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 15, upgrade of approximately 871.4 feet of County Road 3202 from rock to oil sand in Precinct 3. Money is in escrow.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 16, upgrade of approximately 668.6 feet of County Road 3204 from rock to oil sand in Precinct 3. Money is in escrow. Entertain-
Move.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. A variance request for lot size on 8425 County Road 2412, Quinlan in Precinct 2. Brian.
All right. This is something that came about from the health department. The tract is under the county minimum 1 acre requirement. It's 9/10 of an acre. Doing some research on this lot, looks like the lot, the 9/10 of an acre lot was created prior to 2001. It has a house on it that is being lived in. It has septic system on it. These folks are having to replace the septic system, do something with their septic system that's requiring a new permit. Due to the house being under the 1 acre minimum, the health department has denied it. So they are requesting a variance so that these folks can fix their septic system and move forward.
But it hadn't been split up prior to that, had it? This is some of those old ones.
This is an old one. These folks are not the original owner of the property. There have been 4 previous owners of this substandard tract. So
And the houses were built in early 2000s.
houses were built in the early 2000s.
Whatever permits were or not issued back then.
Back then, the permitting process was hit and miss, if you will. So, this is one that maybe missed, but, at any rate, there's been a house there for a number of years, and, these folks are just trying to fix their septic system.
All right, any other questions? I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second?
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 18, the replat of Tract 6 of Trinity Acres in Precinct 3.
Okay, this is a replat. It'll take a, public hearing, but, fairly simple replat. All lots meet the county requirements. It's on FM 1564 there, just off 69.
Any questions? All right, this time I'll open up for public testimony for the replat of Tract 6 of Trinity Acres. Anybody here wish to speak for or against this item? Anything online? Being none, I'll close the public testimony. Entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 19, the final plat of Sophia Estates Phase 2, Precinct 2.
And this is actually going to be in precinct 3, apologize. where the developer
Yes.
paid for the road upgrade. At last I checked, he was waiting on the guy to come in and clear the right of way. That's the only thing he lacked, so I would
Conditional?
suggest a conditional on them getting that right of way cleared out.
Right.
Money is in escrow in reference to this, yes, sir.
Yeah, we've already, entertain a motion for approval, condition on the right-of-way being cleared.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion, and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 20, the final plat of Aguirre Addition in Precinct 3.
Okay, fairly simple plat. He did have to upgrade the road, which he did. It is a beautiful, nice, brand-new asphalt road in front of this property and out to the next main road, actually. So it meets all county requirements.
Any questions? Entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion, second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Final plat of Avery Acres in Precinct 4.
Pretty simple plat, meets all the requirements.
Any questions? Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion, second, all in favor say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 22, the final plat of Crowell subdivision in Precinct 4.
This is a mid-sized subdivision, has a little bit of, about 600 feet on County Road 4201. I would suggest a conditional on this to make sure that right-of-way is completely up to snuff. The fence and some of the trees are real close to the right-of-way line, so it's waiting on the surveyor to get in and mark that right-of-way, so I knew exactly where it was. Worst case, if they don't require any clearing, then it'll be ready to go. There's not a whole lot on that corner if they do require anything to be removed.
Man, it's only 600 foot long. Any questions? Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion, second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Brian. Is there anything else, or we need to go into executive session for anything? Number one. Was there action to, I thought we did vote on that. Oh, okay. Sorry. Go back to action item number one. Well, I thought we did with the amendment.
Never took a vote on it.
Oh, we didn't? Okay. So, we, okay, so, oh, okay. No, she needs, yeah, just, right, okay. So we need to entertain a motion to amend the $2.4+ million for radios being purchased out of ARPA funds and approve $1,030,291.25 to be paid out of ARPA funds.
Judge, Aaron, this is a question for you. Will it cause any problems if we postpone that until next week, whenever we look at the ARPA funds as a whole? Just, I don't anticipate it being an issue, but just to maintain some flexibility there.
Sheriff, have we ordered any of this yet? Sheriff?
Yes, I think so.
We have ordered part of it, or trying to order part of it?
Essentially, I mean, it's not gonna change anything, I mean, the statute's not gonna change. It's kind of back in compliance.
Say that again, Aaron.
That's fine, I'm just asking the question.
Okay. All right. So did I get all the motion out okay? Entertain a motion for, all right.
You got a motion?
Yeah, entertain for a motion. I stated the motion, entertain a approval of the motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second, okay. I said that terribly, but I got lost in the discussion, sorry. All right, we got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Now then, is there anything else? And then go into executive session under item 1? Okay, under item 1. Okay. For items 1 and 2 in executive session, yes. So moved.
1 and 2, second.
All right, we got a motion second. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, everybody. How do I get back? I'm trying to get there. All right, let's see when we get up. Hopefully it comes back up.
We're live.
Okay, it is 12:29. We're back in regular session.
Hang on, Judge, I may have lied.
Oh.
All right, we are live, sorry.
All right, we're back in regular session at 12:29. Commissioners, I entertain a motion to approve the separation agreement and general release of a employee separation agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Is there anything else before the court today? Being none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned at 12:30. Thank you.